Hi, welcome back to a brand new video of the Targeted Individual Program, Target Individual Experience, Target Individual Programming. Today's lesson, I should say tonight's lesson, it is 1:24 a.m. on a Monday morning, Monday the 26th of January, 2026. When I talk about the lies, the deception, and the manipulation in the minds of the so-called white Europeans or white people of European descent, right? They never talk about the black people of European descent. Why is that? And I've always wondered. I've heard the story of Oliver Cromwell and the mass exodus of black Europeans, and it is documented. Okay? And when we talk about the whitewashing of history, I'm going to give you guys a perfect example of that. And shout out to the brother Kurimeo, 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 Ahau on YouTube. Shout out to this brother. Again, a lot of brothers out there doing some very, very important work in terms of documenting things and uncovering the truth, right? Exposing the lies and the deceptions. And, the Native Americans once said that the white man always speak with forked tongue. Throughout history, for the latter part of the past, I would say 700 years, white Europeans have engaged in the systematic deletion of the black nobles, of black Europeans, and their accomplishment, their nobility, and have stolen their birthright, have stolen their names, have stolen their positions. Okay, so we know that there was a rebellion. Okay, we know Oliver Cromwell and other Europe from Great Britain, other European nation, have conspired to deport the masses of black Europeans, black European monarch, the dukes, the lords, and so forth, and have whitewashed their history. Let me give you guys a perfect example. Here you have this guy called Charles the Bold, the Duke of Burgundy. Okay? Now I want you to look at the image. All right, so this is supposed to be Sir Charles the Bold. Okay? This is all the image of him. All right, you guys seeing this, right? Sir Charles the Bold. But what is the accurate description of Sir Charles the Bold? What is the accurate description? Well, I'm going to show you guys. Hold on a sec. Okay, so when you go to Google and just do a search, and it says Charles of Burgundy was described as being of brown complexion. Okay? All right, now I want you to see what it says. Let's go to historical accounts. Let's do AI. AI might give you a more accurate description. Okay, so Charles the Bold, the last Velocis, Duke of Burgundy, is frequently described by contemporary and modern historians as having a notably dark or brown complexion. Now, I just showed you the image of this dude. Does this dude look like he has a brown complexion? A very dark complexion? See, they didn't know that the AI is going to start exposing all this shit, even though other people have been exposing their lies, such as myself and others. But again, I just want to show you guys so you guys can go and even read it for yourself. Okay? A trait often attributed to his mother, Isabella of Portugal. So he says, if you read it again, Charles the Bold, the last Valos, Valois, Duke of Burgundy, is frequently described by contemporary and modern historians as having a notably dark or brown complexion, a trait often attributed to his mother, Isabella of Portugal. His physical appearance is characterized by the following detail: complexion. Chroniclers and historians describe him as having a clear, dark complexion or simply being dark in coloring. Okay? Hair and eyes. He was known for his curly, rich black hair and dark eyes. Built. He was often described as sturdy, robust, and well proportioned, though accounts of his height vary between tall and below average. His dark complexion has led to various historical and artistic interpretation. Some modern researchers suggest he may be the basis of certain black king figures in 15th century alteration of the Magi paintings, such as those by Hans Menlen. Though this remains a subject of academic debate. Again, why is it a subject of academic debate? Because you have racist white academics whose job it is to continue to keep up the lie and the whitewashing of European history, right? Because clearly, you had black nobility in Europe, but Hollywood don't show you these things. Television don't show you these things. In the movies, they don't show you these things because they need to keep up the lie. I remember there was a movie with Martin Lawrence where he traveled back in time and he was a knight or something like that. It was a very funny movie, but that was the only time that was ever there was depiction of a black knight. Okay, so I always say it is always we can't depend on white historians to tell us the truth, even though some of them will tell us the truth, but they themselves will be attacked, and so a lot of them know that, so they don't do anything, they don't say anything, because again, they know that they will be attacked for telling the truth, right? And they will have their career destroyed, their livelihood, taken away, and such, right? This is how far these liars, deceivers, and manipulators will go. All right. So like I said, they talk about history and our history. Let's talk about their history, their lies, their deception, their manipulation. Okay. So again, it said. Then it says, would you like to see contemporary portrait of Charles the Bold to compare these description with his artistic depiction? Okay. Now I just showed you guys that. All right. Now, if I go here, because I wanted to make this important so you guys can understand when they talk about dark, they will always try to change it to say, well, he had a dark olive complexion. But what is a dark olive complexion? Okay, so let's read this one. Historical accounts and contemporary description indicate that Charles the Bold, or Duke of Burgundy, 1433 to 1477, possessed a dark swarty or brown complexion, often described as part of his overall dark coloring. He is noted to have favored his mother, Isabella of Portugal, in appearance, physical description, and historical context. Complexion. Chronicles from the 15th century include those by George Chastelain, often describe Charles as having a clear, dark complexion. Now, when they say dark, they don't say, a little dark or what have you. You say a clear, dark complexion, or he had some kind of shade of black or shade of darkness. They say he was clearly dark. Hair and features. He was frequently described as having curly, rich black hair, dark eyes, and a sturdy build. It says portrait of Charles, such as those after Rogier van der Whedon depict him with darker skin tones compared to the pale, fair skin conventions of Northern European nobility at the time. So why do we have portraits of him being clearly white? Okay, when his description in earlier paintings of him, he is clearly has a dark complexion, right? A comparison. Some modern analysis, such as the quoted discussion regarding blackness in past monarch, interpret these descriptions as indicating a Mediterranean or olive complexion, which was sometimes described as black or swarty. So when they talk about olive complexion, I want you to understand the olive. You look at an olive, right? Look at an olive. When an olive is green, means it's not ripe, right? When it's not ripe, it is green, right? It is of a light green or sometimes maybe a slightly lesser light green. But when you look at the olive that when it's ripe, when the olive is turning ripe, it will turn brown, not a light brown, okay, brown, and then when it's ripe, it's black, right? So when they're saying he is clearly dark, right? So that means that he's the color of an olive, which is black. See, white people have gaslighted us so much that we look at white people, the white Arabs, a lot of times they're tan as being Swati. They're not Swati. They just have a tan. They're white, right? Again, if you have to understand the history and how Arabs went from black to being white, okay? Um, Such as described as black as Swati in that era. Now, if you go and you read not Benjamin Franklin, sorry, I would say Benjamin Franklin. I don't like to say this dude's name, but Thomas Jefferson, um, uh, The Race of Nations, which you can find at the Library of Congress, and he talks about the dark people of Europe, right? The Germans, the Swiss, and he talks about the Brits being the Anglo-Saxon with the French, right? So he's talking about the Russians. The Russians were Swati, dark, brown complexion. So again, what happened, right? That's something somebody I know. Dr. Clyde Winters, he researched these things. That's why I found out about Oliver Cromwell, and he said that Oliver Cromwell went on a mission, a campaign to erase black people, the black Europeans, and black nobility out of Europe. And they sent them to the Caribbean to be enslaved. All right? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I just remember, too, there was this Jamaican guy who found out that he was a relative of one of the royals family, right? One of those European monarch family, right? Black guy now, right? So they lie, okay? So artistic representation. Some theories suggest that the figure of Balthazar in Menlin Adoration of the Magi is a representation of Charles the Bold, highlighting a dark skin, Moorish depiction. Okay? Not those white people that you see with those white Arabs you see that wearing the hat talking about their Moors. Those are not the Moors that conquered Portugal, Spain, Italy. These were the black Moors. Okay? These were the black Moors. All right? Interpretation of brown complexion. Listen to this. Now, if you look at my complexion, I'm brown. I'm clearly brown. Right? Now, they are light skinned brown. There's different shades of brown, what have you. But they're still black. This is a different shade of black. Okay? It is important to note that this depiction of black or brown skin in historical European texts from this period often refer to a swarthy or Mediterranean complexion, or in some cases reference dark hair rather than specifically meaning African descent. See, this is the lie that they like to tell, okay? Because we know that they were black Arabs. We know that, the Berbers, right? So when they say stuff like this, is to try to make it seem, oh, they were talking about their hair. It's the same shit you hear with these Arab Egyptians talking about Kemet doesn't mean that it just been the land was black. No, Kemet means the land of the blacks, not a black land, but the lands of the land of black people, African people. Okay, so we as not speaking as a TI right now, but just doing this because again I want to show people how they lie, how they manipulate, and they've been doing this for hundreds of years. Okay, so it says specifically rather mean this dark complexion is likely due to his Portuguese and Italian heritage, which contrasts with the fairer skin typical of the Burgundian court. Now, come on, Portugal was conquered by the Moors. Italy was conquered by the Moors. You know, they talk about the Sicilians, very dark skin, because they had black descendants, right? And then there was a whitewashing, just as we see in Argentina, right? Go read about the history of Argentina. How Argentina went from being 80% black population to now less than, I think it's less than 10%. And that happened over the course of the past 200 years. There was a whitewashing of the population. Okay? So they like to talk about, oh, olive skin meaning that Mediterranean. But you go to the Mediterranean, the so-called Mediterranean, and really there is no such thing as a Mediterranean. That's just a renaming of Northeast Africa. Okay? That's what it was called. If you go look at an old map, you'll see Northeast Africa. You don't see Mediterranean in there. Okay, it is when they built the Suez Canal in order to separate it from Africa, then they called the Middle East. Okay. All right, so let's look at the. Where was I here? Let's go here, and there you go. Let's look at this. What is dark Mediterranean complexion? Is a skin tone ranging from deep olive to bronze or brown, characterized by a subtle, cool green yellow undertone rather than red or pink. It is common in southern Europe, Italy, Greece, Spain, North Africa, and the Middle East, often tanning easily without burning. I tell you, if they're tanning easily without burning, this lets you know that they got some black African ancestry, right? Like true black African ancestry. Because we know if you study genetics, if you study migration, you'll see that every group of people on this planet come from black people. You know, places like Europe, places like Russia, China, South Korea, Japan, because over the course of hundreds of years, the breeding out of the black genes, right? But there's still some traces of it in there, right? And again, you go look at the videos, the Chinese scientist who actually did a genealogy research, and he said that, yeah, our ancestors came from Africa. So we may look different now, but, you know, our ancestors came from, they were black people. Okay? Key characteristics, color and tone. The skin has an olive green cast to its surface. Now, you look at these Arabs today, these light-skinned white Arabs, they don't have any green undertone. When they tan, it's not a green undertone. They look like a light-skinned black person, except they may have straight hair, right? You know what I'm saying? That's what they look like, right? If you see some light-skinned black people, okay, you can go to South Africa. They got light-skinned black people. They're not mixed with Europeans. They're not mixed with what we call white Europeans, right? So the skin has a olive green cast to its surface, often apparent as a muted beige or brown. So they have to come up with all these different subtleties to not say that these are descendants of Black Africans, right? Now let's look at the image of an olive, right? So you see, look at her, right? She's not Swati. She is not Swati. Look at her in this picture here, right here. She's Swati. Okay, so let's say if she have a child with a white man, that child will come out looking like this. Okay? Or if the father was black and the mother was white, you get a mix. I shouldn't say mix, but you get a mixture of the black color and the white color, right? The so-called white color. Okay? But that's not what I wanted to show you guys. I wanted to show you guys this because I said here, what is the color of an olive? Just so we can be more accurate, right? Because they love to say things and so forth, right? Now, what you don't see here is a ripe olive, right? What you don't see here is a ripe olive, right? I mean, ripe in the sense of, the black olive, right? So this one says ripe olive, but when you go to the store and you pick up a jar of olive, right? You see they have black olives, right? So tell me, which one of these would be considered to be a Mediterranean complexion? Okay, which one of this? Because they don't look green to me. They don't even look like this green brown here. They don't look like this green brown here. This color right here, this is my complexion. Okay, this is my complexion. All right. So let's read the description again. Why is it that when they show you these swats, this one actually has black olive, but it's not. Yeah, here it goes. It says very deep olive, very dark olive. Right. This is what they call. Look at what they call a black olive. That's not a black olive. This is blacker than that. That's like more of a grayish green. Okay. How they hide these things, right? And how they manipulate these things. This is a triple gray olive. Like, come on. Right? Like, come on now. Tell you. They lie. They lie and they manipulate. Now let's read the description. Olive range in color from bright green when immature to various shades of purple, dark brown, or black when fully ripe. Okay? The color change as they mature on the tree, with green olive being younger and generally more bitter, while darker purple black olive are fully mature. So a ripe olive cannot be a green olive. Okay? But when they try to say these things about, Middle Eastern people are olive complexion, they're not olive complexion. Okay? They're not olive complexion. They're just a mixture with white Arabs and white Europeans. This is why people from the Middle East are classified as white. Okay? How do we get the Arabs that we have today? Is because of black people who migrated to Asia after thousands of years, migrated back into that region of Northeast Africa, right? Mixing with the white Europeans to get what you have, and and black Arabs to get the shade of the color of the people that today we call modern day Arabs. So understand when they say Swati, when they say very dark, when they say a heavily dark olive complexion, right? Meaning that is a ripe olive complexion. It is a what? It is a black olive. And no one is purple, right? So, you know what I'm saying? Uh, but the dark brown or the black are fully ripe olive. Understand that. All right. So again, education, the way how they manipulate us, the way how they spread their lies, it is something that we all must be aware of, and really, because it's ridiculous, right? How the white supremacists, these so-called historians, they're white racists. So I don't believe them. I don't believe them when the evidence is written, the evidence is clear. Even in the documentation, they talk about, if you go read some of these old, you can find some information in the video I was watching. It's called the history of Switzerland. Okay, the history of Switzerland. All right, I think. Let me see if I let's look here. Here we go. The history of Switzerland. Get this book. Okay, Dionysius Laudner. Okay, 1836. All right, you can read it for free on Google, the Google Books. There's so many historical books that document the monarchies and the history of Europe, from the Black Vikings to the Black German kings and so forth. And they have hide these things, not only from black people, but also from white Europeans as well. Okay? So, talk to you guys in the next video. Again, educate yourself, arm yourself with knowledge, and let's keep exposing these lies and show who the liars are, who the deceivers are, who the manipulators are. All right? Always run to truth, not away from it. Run away from the lies, not towards the lies. Talk to you guys next video.